Hey everyone, welcome back to the Superhero Show. Daniel, and this is Chris. And we've both seen The Suicide Squad. And we're going to talk about it in spoilerific detail. So if you've not seen the movie, you might want to come back and check out this video once you have. Unless you don't care, and then stay right there. So first off, should we just give our kind of what we think of the movie? And then we're going to talk about the good stuff, the stuff that doesn't work very well in it. One of those lists is dramatically longer than the other. So first off, like, you've always been a bit mixed on it.
Yeah.
Ever since we started talking about the film on the show, I've always been pretty into the trailers.
I think everyone liked the trailers, apart from me, it felt like. And my reasoning was, I felt like it was really good music and it was well cut together, but what I was seeing was a bit ugly and it didn't make me want to see more. And I'll say now, actually, the more I think about it, I'm not really a fan of the character Harley Quinn, and that was obviously the big hit from the trailers and is a big part of the movie. But I went in with a totally open mind, I really did, and I didn't really enjoy it. I found it a bit frustrating, a bit boring, a bit lackluster, some of the action, and had problems with the plot and villain. Had a few problems, so yeah, I was not a fan. How about you, Daniel?
I was not a fan either. I like the trailers, but in similar way to Fantastic Four, I think this is a film, you watch it and you can think it's scarred with production problems. Like, you can see the scars on the movie where like, characters are introduced 3 or 4 times, and I feel like they've all come from different shoots and different approaches. The first 20 minutes feels like it was redone. And then there was also manifesting like pacing problems, tone problems, structural problems and plot problems.
And since we've seen it, this article has come out in the Hollywood Reporter that kind of goes into it a little bit, and we can talk about that a bit later. But even if you hadn't read that, you can see as you're watching the movie, it's a very mixed bag of the way things are happening. Yeah. Let's talk about what we liked first, because we don't want to be negative for the whole time.
I've put down Will Smith. I think he's great in it. I think he's really good. And like, Will Smith obviously over the last 15, 20 years has been like one of the best leading men in Hollywood. He's a proper movie star. And he's really charismatic. And he gives more depth to this character than I ever expected. He is pretty much the heart of the movie, emotionally anyway. I think he has the most kind of stuff in the movie.
He carries the film.
You feel, and he is really good. And he goes on, you know, probably the biggest arc in the movie, from this kind of reluctant hero to like embracing the idea of doing something good so his daughter will remember him for it.
He has the charisma that someone like Joel Kinnaman needs as Rick Flag. Yeah, who is the leader of that group, and yet he just doesn't. I don't feel like he is. Like, he's just, whenever he's on screen with Will Smith, he just seems to be dominated by him. Yeah. In a way that maybe, you know, we know that Tom Hardy was originally supposed to play that role. Maybe he wouldn't have been. Yeah, and like he's like a villain, but he's more a mercenary anyway. He was already doing missions for money, so he's probably the least kind of evil of all of them. And this connection to his daughter is quite charming, even though they lay it on pretty thick. They do. Especially towards the end. Like, has he got a daughter? It never comes up.
Yeah. So I think Will Smith is pretty good in the movie.
Yeah. And we both really liked Viola Davis as Amanda Waller.
Yeah, she's this hard ass. Like, she's the one that they all fear. And like, it's really funny because it's, you know, a woman in a pantsuit, but she's still quite threatening in the movie. And I think she... Yeah.
Without any superpowers, she's maybe the most dangerous person in the film.
To be fair, a lot of them don't have superpowers, which isn't a bad thing, but I think that's where there's a bit of discrepancy with the threat they're facing. And also, I didn't put down on the list, actually not a big fan of him in general, but I actually thought Jai Courtney's bits were pretty funny. But again, he just doesn't have much reason to be there.
Yeah, I think Joshua wrote in his review, like, why is he on the team? Like, what does he bring to the party? There's no real evidence.
He barely uses his boomerangs.
No, he uses a video on one of his boomerangs at one point, but that gets noticed and shut down straight away.
He has little knives. So obviously, it's quite clear we're lapsing back into criticism. Yeah. But it's hard because it's like, it is an ensemble piece, so a lot of it kind of, it's interdependent. So if one thing doesn't work, I think the whole structure kind of is a little bit more wobbly. You know, it's not. If it was Deadshot's film, then Will Smith's performance would go a long way to saving it, but it's not.
And there aren't any terrible performances in the film either.
No.
I don't think.
I think there's some just kind of just bland ones.
Yeah.
And some criminally bad ones. Well, it's a bit further down, but should we do the Joker?
Let's do the Joker.
Just because it's a thing that's naturally come up. We're talking about performances. There are no bad performances, no stinkers. Some people are saddled with unfortunate characters, like Killer Croc's, he's got a bum deal there. Like, I think some of the Killer Croc stuff's really bad. But Joker is...
No, you liked one Killer Croc bit though, didn't you?
I love the bit where he gets into the sewer.
Yeah.
And he just he gets on all fours, which he's never done at any point in the movie. Like, they never established... He's always biped.
Yeah.
He's a man. And then for some reason he gets on all fours and scuttles down into the water.
Yeah.
I thought he could just walk in. I just found it such a weird choice.
Crocodile, mate.
Anyway, so it's exciting. We've got a new Joker.
Yes.
Obviously a very controversial one with when we saw him for the first time with all the tattoos.
Yeah.
Obviously does have the tattoos in the movie. What did you think of Jared Leto's take?
I thought it was interesting. You know, they've gone down kind of a gangster route. They've made this Joker a gangster. I thought his voice was quite similar to Heath Ledger's, actually.
Quite growly, isn't he?
And he's fine. I thought it was weird what happened with the character. I would like to have seen more of him.
Yeah.
But he does kind of he kind of dominates the film when he's in it, but then he disappears, and it makes no sense for him to disappear if he's gone to all that trouble to rescue Harley, to then just after that helicopter crash. And also, a lot of people crash in helicopters in this film but don't die. I didn't know that was a thing that was possible.
Yeah, really big crashes.
And it keeps happening.
3 times.
It keeps happening. But yeah, I felt like the film suffered from introducing him and then him disappearing.
Yeah.
Especially when he is maybe the greatest villain in all of superhero comics.
Yeah.
And this movie was crying out for a villain, and a good villain, and we ended up with a really poor villain.
Yeah, and also, like, you know, he is typically that agent of chaos. But here he's actually gone on a very small mission to get Harley back. So every time you see him, he's actually just doing something very reasonable. Like, he's getting a thing or pursuing a thing or interrogating someone. Like, we don't spend enough time to really know what his take on the Joker is. Like, I think it's slightly more sexual and androgynous. Like, he comes on to both men and women, and he's quite sexual with them. But there's nothing of the same threat, because he kills Common in the movie, but he just shoots him in the head. It's not as dangerous as like when you saw Ledger do the pencil trick,
yeah.
Or when he breaks the pool cue, and it's like, there's something really dangerous about his interpretation. And I'm not saying he should have done the same thing again, but you don't spend enough. He doesn't do anything super threatening that a normal gangster wouldn't do in another movie.
Yeah, there's a lot packed into a brief amount of time with him. And if we talk about Harley as well, like, I felt like that was so fast. We meet her, and she's immediately falls in love with him.
She's already in love. We missed the scene where she's like
we need to see why and how. I felt like we need to really understand their relationship. I felt like there needed to be more of that backstory.
Yeah.
But she's in love with him, and then boom, she's mad, and I didn't feel that connection between the two of them, which is so important for that relationship to work on screen.
Cool. Was it interesting you come onto that, because I think that actually does lead us back to our first point, is structure. The fact that you want more of that relationship, but obviously this film can only devote so much time to giving you backstory when there's so many new characters to introduce. Yeah. And there's lots of, like, the first 20 minutes is this massive exposition dump, and it's quite inelegant in a way. Like, it's almost like the beginning of the film, I feel like it's been reimagined in light of the success of the trailers and the advertising and like the garish kind of style of it. So the first 20 minutes is where all that stuff lives. It's where you get like the on-screen graphics, the music, the really anarchic sequences. And then the rest of the movie settles into just a pretty standard get from point A to B and then stop big thing.
But it's totally inconsistent, because you get that, and this is introduced to all the Suicide Squad, but then, Slipknot, there he is. Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag in a bit of off-camera ADR says my favourite line in the film. Everyone gets these big introductions,
I don't think it's
and he just says, "Here comes Slipknot, the man who can climb anything." Boom. And Katana, is he called Katana?
Katana, yeah.
She just shows up on the plane.
Out of nowhere, when they're about to go on the mission, she appears, and Rick Flag goes, "Oh, she has my back." Why does she have your back? And we're not putting ourselves in the corner here. It's like, obviously, if they did 20 minutes on Katana, that is totally unfeasible. But there are more elegant ways of doing it than person says line about person.
Well, this isn't the first film where a squad or a gang is assembled. You know, you've got the Blues Brothers, the Dirty Dozen, Kelly's, millions of them. There are better ways of doing this, or at least, like we're saying, keep it consistent. Like, do introduce them all at the start, or explain why they're coming in at different points. Like Katana, right at the end of the film, she's talking to her sword, and someone else. And I think we're supposed to find that moving, and we're not. And so someone else says, "Oh, that's the soul of her dead husband's in that sword."
That's quite a big thing to relay in an off-the-cuff line. Am
I supposed to be emotional? And I felt that. Like, I feel like the most important scene in the film is the one where they're all sitting in the bar and talking. You know, the whole film slows down. We get a sense of who everyone is, why they're doing what they're doing, all these emotional beats, and it's supposed to be really. I think it's supposed to quite move you and make you love these people, and it just didn't have any effect on me. The emotional beats in the film didn't really work.
Yeah, but also like that moment where it could have like serviced everyone. It's almost then also that's a platform for doing the finale of Diablo's arc, where you get the big story of. And it's like. That's actually a really interesting little story, and he's much better than I thought he was going to be in the movie, and he does loads of cool stuff at the end because he's one that actually has superpowers. But it's weird because that kind of just takes it in a slightly different direction where I don't know if it needed it, or if there was fewer characters and he was a main one that would be more successful. Like going back to the Will Smith thing, he's introduced in the prison at the beginning. Like, he's already incarcerated. Then he's introed through the flashback sequence where you see him kill someone. Then there's another flashback sequence where you see Batman capturing him. He almost has 3 different, moments.
Look, we know these films go through lots of different versions. They're tested, different people are brought on board. And that Hollywood Reporter article said that there were 2 cuts. They actually got the guys that did the trailer to do their own cut, which sounds shocking, but it's only because we're hearing it on this film. Things like that happen all the time, I'm sure, in Hollywood. But it's really interesting. Like, they're quite specific in this story, and I took some of the quotes, and multiple editors were brought in, and there were 2 versions, they said, Ayer's more somber version and a lighter studio-favoured version. And the studio-favoured version, with more characters introduced early in the film and jazzed-up graphics, was the one they ultimately went with. So it feels like there was maybe something there, but they've shaped it in a way that just...
Yeah, and I think that reshaping you see in the film, like, to talk more about like specific plot elements, I think that's what suffers a lot as well, because there's a confusing thing between, well, they give this love story, which we haven't been told about before, and understandably when you see the film, that Rick Flag and her Enchantress are in love, and they've almost manipulated that to give Rick Flag a reason to lead this team of people anyway, which is really
it's this weird
flimsy.
Coincidence, isn't it? Yeah.
And she then goes off and becomes the villain for the movie, because we didn't know the villain for the movie for a long time, and she awakens her brother, Incubus.
I found the stuff with him and her quite a little bit confusing, actually, because I didn't really get a sense of their relationship. No. I didn't know if it was real.
Yeah. Or whether they'd been conned into it. Yeah. Or whether it was still real.
Or whether he was going out with her on purpose because it was gonna. And so that it meant at the end, because you didn't feel it, that at the end that big moment doesn't really work.
It falls absolutely flat.
So let's talk about that, because I think that is maybe the major problem with the film, and the problem I've had with these 2 DC films this year, very specifically, is the villain being bad. Doomsday in Batman v Superman I thought was just tacked on and not a great villain, and Enchantress, I didn't really understand her plan. She kept talking about a machine. What was she trying to achieve? Was she trying to kill everyone or enslave everyone? She was doing the weird dancing at the end. It was just
the
really
hula
weak
thing at the end's weird.
Just a really
but also,
weak
like,
villain.
Her brother is the villain, and they're creating all these minions. And I guess when she speaks to her brother for the first time, there's something there where it's like, we were the humans, they've betrayed us. They once worshipped us. They no longer do. They now worship machines. We'll show them. But what they do is just rain down destruction, which is creating fear. So maybe people would worship them again, but they're not talking to anyone. They're just in a train station, creating this weird portal in the sky that you see in these insert shots of it destroying boats. And I think it's just supposed to convey, it's just generic worldwide destruction.
Yeah. I felt like I was watching the end of '84 Ghostbusters for some of those visuals.
Yeah.
with the woman standing there as well. It just
portals.
I thought I'd seen it. It's just another blimmin' portal, isn't it? It's another. I felt like I've seen that visual in other superhero films, including Man of Steel and the Marvel.
And
a few of the Marvels.
Because the spectacle at the end is so grand. You know, you've got Enchantress and you've got her brother Incubus, who's huge, and he looks a bit like
a CGI thing. He looks a bit like Galactus with a weird headdress thing. Yeah. And it's where there's a big mismatch, I think, with the characters that have been sent on this mission. Because he says, we need metahumans to fight this next. A lot of them aren't metahumans. They're just bad people. Like Harley Quinn, I do like the character, especially when she's within a Batman story and she's a supporting character. She's just an insane woman with a bat. And also a lot of them are like that. Boomerang's like that. So at the end, a lot of them kind of almost weirdly have to sit out the final fight, and it all goes on to Diablo to tackle it, because there's a scene where they take on Enchantress and she goes back to the form at the beginning and she's like all ninja, and they're all just stood around hitting her, and then Enchantress goes, enough of that, I can't be arsed, and then goes back to the big form, and it's like they can't even touch her. It's a really weird finale. It's not like structured in a cool way, and it's not very clear what her powers are or what she's doing, and so you need to know these rules to buy into what you're watching, and I don't think they really set it up properly. Favourite scene? There's a scene I really liked in it.
Which one?
I liked this scene where Deadshot was trying out all the guns to the Kanye West song.
Pretty funny.
I thought it was a really cool, fun scene. I feel like we've been missold the movie a little bit. This fun, subversive takedown of the superhero movie is what the trailer sort of sold us, and then the actual film wasn't really subversive at all.
It's very by the numbers, isn't it? Like
in a way that Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think is kind of a similar movie, was much more subversive without really trying or without wearing its heart on its sleeve in that way. And obviously Deadpool this year managed to do it, and I just felt like it felt quite by the numbers, especially the plot.
Yeah. I do like Killer Croc getting into the sewer.
How about the mid-credit sting?
Yeah, so this is a really weird one because we went to screening and it was like, stay behind to watch it. Yep. Oh, I was excited.
Which we do anyway.
And I think it would have been a bit better if we'd not seen the Justice League footage. Well, it would have been totally better because we already know, based on that footage, that, we know Bruce Wayne's going to find all these people. Also, I think he could find them anyway. He's already got the files from LexCorp.
Yeah, he's got them on his computer. He just wanted hard copies.
He wanted a printout. He didn't have a printer. But even that, it's like a weird thing. It's like, when was that shown? When was it planned? And is that maybe why things don't slightly line up again? Because it's like, we know that they have the information. Wonder, on the computer file, why does he need them from Amanda Waller again?
These post-credit stings are supposed to make you excited for what's to come, and Joshua said this in his review as well. It just makes you think, oh, there's another one coming, I guess. Yeah. It doesn't give you that, coming out all
and it's almost
jazzed up.
Yeah. In a way that just maybe saying a name would be better. Like a name of something further away would be cooler than this very specific thing. Like, I know who's playing Aquaman, and I know who's playing The Flash, and I know I've already seen scenes with them together. Yeah. So this doesn't give me anything more.
And I really think you've got to be careful putting characters like Batman and Joker into a film. For what reason you're doing it? Is it just to get people in the cinema? I mean, I really felt Civil War suffered from Spider-Man disappearing from the movie because it was the best thing in the film. And here, I just felt like Batman was used a little bit cynically. Yeah. Really, and I think the film suffers when he and Joker disappears because they're just much stronger, more interesting characters than the ones we're watching on screen.
I've kind of forgot about it, but remember the weird scene where Batman gives CPR to Harley? That's weird, isn't it? Because it's quite...
Well, she's messing with him, isn't she?
Yeah, but it's quite... it's a bit sexy.
Listen,
a bit too sexy.
We could talk for hours about Harley in this film because I think she's a really problematic character. And I think the presentation is problematic. I just think it's a...
So I think Margot Robbie's really good in the role.
Sure.
I think she delivers a lot of the lines well, and at times she plays like something that's a bit more there. Like when she comes back after the Joker's died and she puts on a brave face a little bit, and she's like, she represents herself to the boys, and it's like, she's damaged. She needs someone else to determine her character. That's kind of interesting. But the film is so repetitive in a way because they have a fight. She says a funny, crazy line. Deadshot says, "You crazy girl."
Amanda Waller comes in and kills some people.
Just that it's that for several times without any kind of change in it.
Are we supposed to be laughing at her jokes? Because I felt like she was doing these one-liners and she was doing them fine, but I thought the timing was off, like they weren't really landing and I wasn't really laughing. And I think some of them are supposed to be funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a mixture of, there are some funny, some of her just being like slightly irritating. Like she said, I'm known to be vexing. That is that part of that character.
Yeah.
And I think it works better when she's with the Joker and then also they only appear occasionally as a villainous component in a piece.
Yeah.
Whereas here, she's foregrounded, also because they know that character's popular. You know, Margot Robbie's incredibly popular. She's, by the end, I think they reshot that ending to make her the hero. Because at the end, when she slides forward, she like gets Katana's sword and cuts open Enchantress to get the heart. The very next scene, Katana has her sword back. I wonder if that's a reshoot where they thought, people seem to really like Harley, we could do stuff with her in the future. Let's make her the hero at the end.
I just feel like it's such a missed opportunity when you've got the best villain in your movie and you don't use him as a villain.
Well, that was one of the original rumours that the Joker was going to be the villain that they're taking down. That's a really cool idea. It just seems like, again, by the Hollywood Reporter, a flag was put in the sand. The movie has to come out on this day, and they just had to get production going really quickly. Yeah,
well, they had less than 2 years, and he wrote the script in 6 weeks. Again, this is all rumour, but like, it feels like it when you're watching it. It's easy to say that with hindsight, and you've got these things in front of you, but it honestly feels like that watching the film a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a bit gutted because I was really looking forward to it. Yeah. I had high hopes. So yeah, like, tell us what you think of the movie. If you agree with us, disagree with us, just let us know. supershow@ign.com.
Be nice,
be
though.
civil.
Be nice. We're all friends.
Nobody wants to see a bad movie. So yeah, let us know and we'll go through that feedback on next week's show.
Definitely.
Until then, for everything on superheroes, stay with us on IGN.